They walk among us in the daylight, smiling, laughing, breathing just like you. Their skin is warm, their voices soft. But when the sun dips below the horizon, the illusion fades. Beneath the veil of flesh lies something far more terrifying. Bones painted in colors of the damned. Skulls etched with the spirits of the lost. They are the cursed children of the Nightbloom, bound by an ancient hex, doomed to hunt the living as night falls. By night, their flesh withers. Their true forms emerge, skeletal figures adored with swirling, painted skulls. Their colors are not for beauty. They are prison cells. Every flower, every swirl, every stroke of paint, a soul trapped inside. They don't want to kill, but the hunger, it consumes them. If they don't take a life before dawn, they will fade into dust. So they hunt, they stalk, they wait in the shadows, watching, choosing their next victim. Welcome to Project Black Garden, a Monsters and Myths podcast. This is Season 2, The Snapdragon Files, Episode 17, File Number 222. I'm your host, Michael. Prepare yourselves for the myth known as Bones. Long ago, in a forgotten ancient city, there was a vibrant yet treacherous kingdom. Within it, there existed a secret society known as the Children of the Sun and Death. They were artisans, healers, and mystics who painted their faces like sugar skulls to honor the dead. However, the ruling elite feared them, believing their craft was unnatural, a magic that defied their gods. Their tyrant king, in his paranoia, betrayed them all. He summoned a powerful sorcerer, the dreaded Mother Shadow, to curse the entire society. She wove a powerful hex. You who honor death will now wear its face forever. By the sun's embrace, you may walk as men, but as night falls, your flesh will shrivel, your souls will wither, and you will hunger for the warmth of the living. Only through the stolen blood of another may you delay your torment. One by one, the members of the society fell to the curse. By day, they appeared human, their skin smooth, their breath warm. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, their true forms emerged. Beautiful, yet ghastly skeletal figures. Their bones adorned with intricate, colorful patterns, like vibrant sugar skull art. These were not just decorations. They pulsed with an eerie glow, containing the spirits of those they had slain. Ancient text refers to them as the Nightbloom skeletons. Now, the Nightbloom skeletons are immortal, bound to their torment for eternity unless the curse is broken. A feat said to require the blood of a descendant of their once glorious city. This descendant must willingly give it in an act of sacrifice. Until then, they exist in a perpetual cycle. Their daylight form, they are human in every sense, indistinguishable from ordinary mortals. They feel love, sorrow, joy, and pain. However, a strange unease lingers within them, a whispering hunger for something they do not understand while the sun is up. In their night form, as the last rays of sunlight disappear, their flesh dissolves into mist, leaving behind a skeletal frame of vibrant, haunting beauty. Their sugar skull patterns shimmer like ghostly embers, shifting in hypnotic swirls. It is in this form that they are compelled to hunt, not out of malice, but out of necessity. They must claim a victim before dawn, draining their essence to maintain the illusion of humanity for another day. Those chosen by the Nightbloom skeletons do not simply die. Their souls are absorbed into the painted patterns of the skeleton's bones. Every victim leaves behind a mark, sometimes a delicate floral swirl, other times a deep crimson stain, resembling cracked porcelain. It is said that if one listens closely, the whispers of these lost souls can be heard in the wind, begging to be freed. These skeletons are bound by 3 rules. They cannot step into pure moonlight, while they may hunt under the darkness of night. Direct exposure to a full moon's glow weakens them, causing unbearable agony. They cannot slay someone who willingly offers them their blood in a ritual of mercy. Such a sacrifice temporarily eases their hunger, allowing them to resist their instincts. If one of them refrains from feeding for 13 nights, their soul will begin to crumble and they will dissolve into dust at sunrise, forever lost to the cursed void. Now, over the centuries, whispers of the Nightbloom skeletons have spread, giving rise to a secret order of hunters known as the Bearers of Dawn. These warriors, descendants of those first cursed, have sworn to end the creature's suffering, whether by freeing them or destroying them. Armed with sacred obsidian blades and lunar-infused relics, they track the haunted beings, seeking the one who holds the key to breaking the curse. In the modern day, most believe that the Nightbloom skeletons to be mere legend. Strange disappearances and cryptic murals painted on forgotten alleyways suggest otherwise. Travelers who wander too far from the city lights sometimes return with chilling tales of skeletal figures dancing in the shadows, their bone patterns shifting like living ink. It is said that if one sees a figure with unusually vibrant sugar skull-like tattoos during the day, they should never meet them again after sundown. For if they do, they may soon find their own soul woven into the painted bones of the cursed. These cursed beings are not mindless killers. They hunt with eerie precision, bound by the need to steal life before dawn. Their attacks are as much an art as they are a horror, each victim's soul becoming another swirl of color on their painted bones. In the history of the Nightbloom skeletons, there have been 5 known documented kinds of attacks. Number 1, the silent stalker. The Nightbloom skeleton follows its chosen victim for hours, sometimes days, studying their routine. As the last rays of sunlight vanish, they change. Their flesh dissolves into a mist, revealing their skeletal form, their painted skulls glowing faintly in the dark. Victims hear nothing. No footsteps, no breath, only the distant chime of unseen bells. Then, cold fingers wrap around their throat. Before they can scream, the skeletal hunter exhales a thick, inky smoke into their mouth. The soul is drained in moments, leaving behind a body that collapses like a lifeless husk, its last breath curling into the night air. The second is called the Whispering Lure. On nights when the moon is hidden, the skeletons speak. Their voices are soft, inviting, sometimes even familiar. They whisper names, secrets. They call to their victims from the darkness, mimicking lost loved ones or long forgotten memories. A victim may step into the alley, drawn by the echo of a voice they swear they know. The moment they cross the threshold, the air turns cold. The walls seem to shift, murals of sugar skulls watching them. A skeletal hand slithers from the shadows, paint shifting across its bony fingers. By the time the victim turns to run, it's too late. And 3, the painted embrace. Sometimes, the Nightbloom skeletons do not attack with violence. Instead, they dance. A victim finds themselves drawn to a strange, hypnotic festival. Music playing from nowhere, masked figures swaying in candlelight. A beautiful stranger, their face decorated in intricate sugar skull designs, offers their hand. The dance is intoxicating, their touch too cold, their movements too fluid. The world spins, colors blur, and suddenly, the music stops. The festival is gone, the candles are gone, but the stranger remains. But they are bones now, painted in familiar patterns. The victim collapses, their breath stolen, their soul becoming the newest swirl of color on the skeleton's shifting form. And 4, the Bloodbloom ritual. Some Nightbloom skeletons work in groups, performing elaborate ritualistic kills in sacred places where the curse first began. Victims are led, sometimes willingly, to ancient ruins or forgotten altars covered in painted bones. The ritual begins with soft chanting. The skeletons carve symbols into their own painted skulls, offering their victims a chance to escape. If the victim refuses, the skeletons strike as one, their hands pressing against their chest, pulling the soul from their body like plucking a flower from the earth. The victim crumbles, their final breath curling into a new mural on the walls. And finally, the moonlit gaze, a rare but terrifying attack. Some skeletons do not need to touch their victims at all. Instead, they watch. A victim might wake up in the middle of the night, sensing something in the darkness. At the edge of their vision, a faint glow, swirling patterns in the distance. The moment they look directly at the figure, their body freezes. A rush of air fills their lungs, but they cannot move. They cannot speak. The skeleton tilts its head, its empty sockets locking onto theirs. With every passing second, the victim's breath grows weaker, their body growing colder, and then darkness. By morning, their bed is empty. Their body is gone, but a new mural appears on a nearby wall. An intricate sugar skull design, its patterns shifting like something trapped inside. These are the deadly ways of the Nightbloom skeletons. They do not simply kill. They collect. They create. And once you are marked, there is no escape. Now, I don't have a lot of memories of my great Uncle Samuel. But one does stand out. I was just a little kid, and he had stayed the weekend with us, and we all decided to go camping. And what do you do on camping trips? You sit around the fire, eat s'mores, roast wieners, and tell spooky stories. Well, I always remember the story that my great uncle told that night because it scared the hell out of me. And how surprised was I to find that very story in the Snapdragon files. So here, in my great uncle's own words, is what happened to him and one of his new recruits on a haunted and deadly weekend. We weren't supposed to stop. We were ordered to regroup with Echo Company by dawn. Go north through the desert, through dust and sunburnt landscapes, and whatever the hell else the gods wanted to throw at us. Our Humvee was dying. The engine was screaming. Gas tank nearly dry. And Private Morales, barely 20 and fresh out of San Antonio, missed a turn that wasn't even on the damn GPS. The road curved into nowhere, a winding throat of rock and weeds, until we hit a dead place, carved from heat and silence. No signs of life. No radio signal. Just an old, sun-baked town, trapped in the canyon's shadows. This was the dark side of Mexico's deserts, and we were officially lost. With a dry lump in his throat, Morales read from a hand-painted arch that we rolled under slowly. Noche Florin, he said softly. The paint on the sign was cracked, bleeding into vines of marigold overgrowth. Though my Spanish was far from terrible, I wasn't exactly sure what the word meant. I whispered, "Night flowering?" Morales shook his head and said, "Nightbloom. This is the city of Nightbloom, but it doesn't show up on any map." As we continued to creep down the desert road, I muttered, "That's because it ain't supposed to be here, kid." It looked like a postcard from the grave. Crumbling adobe homes, empty windows, hundreds of marigolds blooming wild in the streets, covering everything in gold and orange, and murals everywhere, faces like skulls, smiling skulls, dancing skulls. It made my skin crawl. We parked by an old cantina that was somehow still standing. We figured we'd get some cover till morning. Besides, we were running on fumes, and we wouldn't be able to drive any farther even if we wanted to. Private Morales made some joke about tequila and ghosts, and I didn't laugh. Maybe I should have, but at the time, I was in no mood. Inside the old cantina, it was cooler, borderline cold, and after a few minutes, it was too cold. Candles and bones lined the shelves. Sugar skulls, real skulls, painted like candy and glittered in dust. Altars everywhere. Names written in red. And I had seen enough dried blood to know that it wasn't paint. I looked over at the private and said, "This town worships death." Morales replied. They all do down here. It's culture, right? But this wasn't culture. This was a warning. The afternoon passed, and the sun dropped fast. The sky turned blood orange, and then something shifted. The smell of the room even changed. The first sound we heard wasn't a voice. It was a chime, but not of metal, of bone. The main altar behind us stirred. The clicking of old bones grew louder, locking the young private in place and setting my teeth on edge. The skeletons rose from beneath the floorboards, one by one, their bones glowing with painted symbols. Sugar skull patterns moved across their bodies like oil on water. They were beautiful, but haunting. And they weren't just alive. They were hungry. I yelled at Private Morales to stay in the light, but with shock filling his eyes, he didn't listen, and he stepped into the dark. And the second he broke the circle of light, they were on him. All of them. He screamed. I'll never forget that sound, as ribs and femurs, bony fingers, and clenched jaws snapped and cluttered in a violent orgy of sound. The private couldn't fight back. His soul came out of his mouth like fog in reverse, white and trembling. It pulled into one of the creature's painted chest. His body crumbled. Then I saw it. His face. His real, terrified face. Now etched across the skull's cheek in glowing red and yellow. I whispered to myself, they wear their victims. Without hesitation, I turned and ran out the front door. I pushed myself as fast as I could, running through alleys, in ruins, in wild marigold fields everywhere. The horde of skeletons followed behind me, their rattling bones echoing everywhere, almost gleefully, like death was a party, and I was the guest of honor. I pulled my weapon, knowing I only had a limited amount of ammo, but I fired it all until it was out. But it was no use. They didn't bleed. They didn't fall. They grinned. If a skeleton could smile, that's exactly what they did. And just when I was about to give up hope, that's when I saw Morales. Was he alive? He waved to me. Over here! I turned, getting my second wind, but found he wasn't Morales anymore. He was just another skull attached to another skeleton body. Just another impossible ghost. My new recruit. Gone. But in that moment, I remembered the altar in the cantina, the center of it all, where it all started. I had one flare left in my vest, a thermal flare that I always saved for emergencies, and one hand grenade. Scratched across it in white writing was the word lucky, as my team used to joke with me that all I needed to get out of a jam was one lucky break. So I circled back as fast as I could, throwing myself through the rotted doors of the old cantina. At the same time, I ignited the flare and tossed it into the altar, just as all the skeletons followed. They pushed past me, writhing and clicking, as the flare took root, and the old, dead cantina began to burn. They scraped and clawed at the flames, trying to pile themselves on top to put them out. But it was no use. And just to make sure, I pulled the pin on Lucky and rolled it in. The explosion wasn't as big as I thought it would be, but it was enough. Bones shattered, paint peeled. The light inside them screamed like 1,000 souls exhaling at once. And then, silence. I watched the cantina burn until the sun began to rise. And with its warmth, another surprise. The town, the whole damn town, crumbled like it was never there. The haunted city of Nightbloom was dust. I was found a day later, staggering into a secret checkpoint 2 towns north, dehydrated, angry, and half hallucinating. And at the time, no one believed me. There was no trace of the city of Nightbloom on any satellite. No bones, no murals, nothing. But I kept one thing, Private Morales' dog tag. I found it in a pile of marigolds, surprisingly untouched by the fire. I returned them to his family and never spoke of this again. Every year, on the Day of the Dead, I dream of that town. I hear the sounds of its patrons. I see the candlelight, and I smell the death. And in those moments, I feel their eyes on me again. And sometimes, in the flicker of a campfire, or the glint of a dusty rearview mirror, I swear I see the painted skull of Private Morales watching me, waiting. All right, fellow gardeners, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Please keep sharing this podcast with family and friends. As it's growing, I'm falling in love with the community that shares in these crazy files. If you have any insane stories of your own or true life events that you'd like to share, or for me to share, please contact me on any of my socials: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, or email me at pbgharvest@gmail.com. And I hope you join us for the next episode. It's one of my favorites. It just happens to be one of the most popular monsters and myths. Come back next time when we hunt down the elusive and immortal vampire. As always, I'm your host, Michael. You've been listening to Project Black Garden, a Monsters and Myths podcast, Season 2, The Snapdragon Files. Thank you for listening. And remember, monsters are real. And sometimes they terrify you to the bone.